Hey, welcome to Let's Talk Money with Money T and Simply C.
We will be discussing financial behaviors, past experiences, relationships, and more. We're going to show you how all those things play a role in your financial decisions.
Talking about spending plans, saving and investing, and identifying your behaviors with money.
All of these things will help you jumpstart your road
to financial freedom.
Living just enough for the city I'm living all my
Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Money. I'm Money T.
And I'm Simply C.
So last week we had the honor of having William Smitty Smith on with Note Starter Capital Investments, and it was a great session.
I totally love that concept, and I told you I can't wait to get these coins right so I can give him some of my money to get me some notes around this joint.
Yes, that passive income. We all want to be a part of that, right?
For sure. Who don't want to make money while they sleep?
Right.
Like, that's the most attractive thing you could ever talk about.
So I hope you guys did not miss that wonderful show. And if you want to know more about Note Starter or passive income, you can go to www.notestarter.com.
Yes, great information.
So moving on today, we have a special guest.
Yes, we have Mr. Ken Lamothe from the Credit Education Group. He's in the Texas area, but we have him joining us here today. So, Ken, why don't you tell the audience a little about yourself?
Now, my name is Ken Lamothe, originally from Louisiana, here in the Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area. Been in the credit, finance, debt, helping type of business for the last 22 years here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
So, Ken, how did you get involved in the credit group? Credit space, yeah.
I actually got involved 22 years ago when went into a process of trying to purchase a home, and went through that process to purchase the home. We got there, 95% of the house was done. We went through the process of picking out the bricks and doing all of that stuff, and the floor coloring, the carpet, and all of that, to only be told about 2 weeks before closing that something popped up on our credit. And when that item popped up on our credit, the guy called us up and said, hey, we need to have a conversation. So we go in, have the conversation, and they told us in order for us to still close at the time frame that we needed to close, that we would have to come up with $50,000 to still close in that time frame.
Wait, let me make that. Hold on. How much?
50,000. Like 50 big ones.
Like 50.
50 with the K.
Wow. Who can do that?
That's crazy.
Right. And the bad part about it was that I had no time to do anything. And at the time, I didn't know anything about credit, didn't know what to do, and he didn't give us any options. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, we had to walk away from that. So that was devastating. And so I made up in my mind at that point in time that I was not going to ever be in that kind of a situation ever again.
Yeah.
And that was in 1999.
That would be a motivator.
That was a motivator.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this was a house you were building, so it was kind of like your dream home.
Exactly. It was that American dream, as they say, for us. And so, you could just imagine going through that process of, just knowing that everything was going to be good, and to get to the finish line and they just pulled the rug from up underneath us. And it was crushing even, for me and the family, because we didn't know what to do.
Right.
So you had to kind of walk away licking your wounds.
Right.
And that was it.
So, what was the first thing that you did to get started in this business? Just like you knew you were crushed because something had happened here to you, and how did you decide to start helping other people with credit repair?
Well, once I went through that process, I didn't really know what to do. Because it wasn't programs and people available that's going to really help you walk you through those things. people would say, hey, hey, come back to me whenever you get fixed. And so what I did was I actually joined the program. And that particular program was actually a network marketing program. And it kind of gave me a foot in to start to understand how most of it worked. Well, after shortly being in that program, I found out that they didn't really teach you to help anybody. They just teach you to bring somebody on board. And that was it. So after being asked so many questions over and over, I decided to start learning things on my own. And so from that, things grew for me at that point. So I had to kind of, as the words, I had to study thyself approve in order to get me to where I needed to be to understand the whole concept of what credit was and things of that nature. So, and then build myself up, as they say, with the credit processes and removing things that was on the file at the time when we lost the property. And, and that's where it's been ever since then.
So tell us about your program and what you do to help people. So I'm new. I'm coming to your company. What are you going to do for me?
Well, basically what we would do is you come to us. We're going to do an actual overview of your credit file, see where you are. For me, I like to try to find out what your end goal is first. What are you looking to do? You want to buy the house, you want to buy the car, or you just want to get lines of credit? Just what do you want to do? And so from that, we look at your file individually and figure out a plan of action that's tailored exactly to you. Over the years, we've actually progressed in that process and actually been in positions to where we've been able to engage a person to where we can actually potentially get them paid based off of the things that's on the credit report after we figured out that plan of action and start to process everything. If we don't get those things removed like we set out to do, it's a possibility that we can actually get them paid and get the item removed.
Ooh, that sounds good. Tasty.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know about getting paid.
Yeah, doing nothing for money, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to put a little work in.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I like it. So we develop the program. We figure out what my end goal is, and you set up some steps. So what would some of those steps be, to getting the credit repaired?
First thing first would be to get copies of the credit report. The best thing to do is to order them. They do take a while to come back in. And we order it directly because that is the source to get them directly from the bureaus. But what we typically do is ask you to go to get a tri-merge credit report so we can see it now. Once you get the tri-merge report, what we do is we set up a time to go through that report line by line. Once we do that, we identify those things that we need to address.
So you said the what?
Tri-merge.
Tri-merge. Is that like
right.
annualcreditreport.com or something?
You can go there. Annual doesn't give you a tri-merge. Annual gives you each bureau individually. So you can get like a lot of people like to go to Credit Karma. We don't recommend that. But they kind of give you a tri-merge, but they only give you 2.
Okay.
Right. They only give you 2 of the bureaus out of the 3. So you want to go to, we have sources that we recommend that you use because we have a system that put those accounts together from those systems. And so what it does, it gives us a look to where we can see the full file at one time, as opposed to looking at it individually.
So Ken, I like to make sure that things are clear for people that are listening. And okay. I think I understand what you're saying with that tri-merge, but let's be absolutely clear for our listeners on what that is. Is that like all 3 credit bureaus merged together? Okay.
Right. So basically what would happen is, though, a tri-merge is where you get all 3, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, basically all on one page. That way we can see each bureau side by side with each other so that when we're looking at it, I don't have to go from one bureau to the next bureau. And then it just makes it a lot harder for us to see it and you as well. So a tri-merge is no more than getting all three of the reports together at one time on one page.
Cool. So do you need help getting that, or are there sites? I know you said Credit Karma is one of them. Are there any other sites that a person can go to?
There's a lot of sites that's out there. The ones that we use, that we specifically use is two. It's Identity IQ is one that we recommend, and also Smart Credit. So it's IdentityIQ.com and SmartCredit.com that we use. These are systems that we use that integrates into our software that helps segregate the information once we upload it in there.
Oh, okay.
Cool. So how often would you suggest a person should pull their credit report?
Should they pull the report? How often?
Yeah, just to, what do you recommend?
I mean, I'm a junkie, so I look at mine a couple times a week.
What?
Really?
I do, because you never know what pops up. And it's kind of been embedded to me, because it's like, if I had seen that thing 20 something years ago, early enough, I could have caught it. And that's a lot of times what happened with us. We don't catch it until it's time. So you want to kind of always stay ahead of the curve, in a sense.
So does it hurt my credit to look at it that many times? So
No.
I'm like, clearly it must not, because you surely wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, no, it doesn't hurt you at all. If you're pulling your own credit, it doesn't hurt you at all. Now, if you're going out when individuals seeing these accounts and these things on TV, and that kind of stuff, and then it tells you at the end, with approved credit, if you pull those off, then that can hurt you. That can pull your scores down. But if you're checking it every day, if you want to, on one of those sites, it doesn't hurt you at all.
So does it cost to use those sites? The identity? Okay.
Yes, they do cost. The prices vary depending on the type of program that you do choose. So, and some of those, online you can get them to go direct, like Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion directly. Even each of those has various types of accounts. You can get a single, or you can also get the tri-merge report where they're pulling from each other as well. So different companies they do charge different pricing. So
does this come along with like those companies that are out there that protect your credit, like some type of, what I'm...
Yes, but I can, for the life of me, can't think of any of them.
You talking about like to protect your credit, you're saying?
Or identity protection.
To protect you from identity theft, they have different programs that you pay a monthly fee to keep their eyes on your credit, per se.
Well, there's nothing out there that I know of that actually completely protects you from identity theft. Primarily what these are going to do is help you identify things to not let it be so prolonged. But there's nothing that's going to stop someone if they received your information from these services, from using it.
Like LifeLock. Sorry, that just popped in my head. Old people got to say stuff when it comes.
Sorry. I'm glad you got that out. Right. Well, companies like LifeLock, they offer that service to you, but it can't really prevent anything, in my opinion. Because if someone got your stuff, you're going to know about it after the fact.
Right, gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the first line of defense?
Your first line of defense is part of what we talked about earlier, making sure you have something that would alert you to let you know if something does pop up on your report, one. Second, those letters that you may get in the mail, open them. Make sure there's not anything in there that's going to put you in harm's way. And thirdly, make sure that you actually answer your phone when individuals call you, so you'll know who may be potentially coming after you.
Now, why would I want to answer my phone when I know the bill collector is trying to reach me?
I'm trying to ignore that call.
I'm glad you asked, because that's probably going to be the first thing that happens is you get a phone call a lot of the times. And here's the thing. You want to make sure you answer the phone call for a couple of reasons. One, mainly because the way that the laws on work is that if you get phone calls And the type of system that these companies use, if they call you and you tell them to stop contacting you via your phone, on the system that they use, those calls could be potentially worth at a minimum $500 per call to you every time they call you after you tell them to stop calling you. So that's why you definitely want to lay hands on your phone and hope it rings after that.
So you can get $500 for them calling you and after you've told them not to.
After you told them not to.
You're telling me that I can get $500 from the bill collector.
Yep, you can get that, and it's basically based on law, because what happens is it's not the phone call, it's how they call. You recognize the phone calls that they get by, we've all gotten that automated phone call where there's no live person on the other end, right? That's considered an auto dial call. It's an automated call, and most times it's through a fictional person or fictional voice, right? So that call, according to law, can be considered an illegal call. So when they do that and you answer it, that's considered an auto dial call, which is a violation of what's called the TCPA, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act.
So they would need a person like you. The listeners would need a person like you to dig a little deeper in that, right? Or can they do it themselves? Okay.
They can do it themselves. It's just that the average consumer is not going to know that exists, because most people that we encounter on a regular basis do not answer the phone. They see that unknown number, they ain't answering it.
Right.
Even local unknown numbers, they ain't answering it.
And then not knowing the law. That's the other part, not knowing the law.
Yes, that's the biggest part. The biggest thing is really wanting people to know that. Answer your phones. Don't be afraid to answer it. It's okay.
I'm like, that is so my husband. He ain't answering the phone. If he know the number or not.
Exactly. You gotta
know kill me when he hears it.
Yeah, you got to know who might be getting ready to pay you. Yeah. So you want to be nice about it. Trust me. Back in 2018, 2019, we collected over $15,000 without ever going to court.
Ooh.
From them simple phone calls.
Wow. But is that being persistent? Do you have to be persistent pretty much, or?
Well, here's the thing. They know it's wrong. You just don't know. You see? So they expect people not to. So here's the other part to that's really, really important, is that when you get that call, the call might show local, might show a local number. Answer it. And it might sound crazy. Ask them, are they local? Because if they're not local, they're violating another subsection, which is the Caller ID Act. And what it does is it's a manipulation of the caller ID to make it seem like they're local, and they're not.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's called spoofing. It happens every day. You get those calls and you might answer it, but you don't realize that they're not local to you. That's a violation of law.
The people perish for the lack of knowledge, or the people miss out on some extra income
because of the lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
so that's the fun part. That's the fun part, when you know somebody is potentially violating you.
Yeah.
And then you have something to stand on to fight, and it's easy. That's the fun part about the credit. So, you get to fight back easy. You do the Mayweather roll on them. So that's the fun part about it. So if most people knew and understand it, they wouldn't hide so much from it.
Man.
Wow.
What about those robocalls that call? I'll be scared to push anything, click anything. I get them constantly, those robocalls, but I'm scared to click on or push anything. I just hang up and block them.
Right.
I got so many numbers blocked. It's ridiculous. Like, quit playing with me.
I get them every day. Now, the two main calls that's been going around a lot is the people calling you from, I don't know exactly, but I'm going to say they're in Pakistan somewhere. And they're calling, telling you that your Social Security card, they're from the Social Security Administration, or they're calling you from the IRS. Okay. None of these people call you. IRS does not call you.
They do not call.
Social Security Administration will not call you. and tell you and then ask you for the very thing that they're calling you about.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Letters.
Right? Social Security Administration, I think they got your Social Security number, right? So there's no need for them to say, hey, can you verify that number? No. We won't be doing that.
Right. Well, the calls I get usually telling me that my car warranty is about to expire.
Yeah.
Do you know how old my car is?
Right. I don't have a warranty. What are you talking about?
And here's the thing about that. You can actually get compensated. The thing about it is that you have to first be able to find them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times these people are overseas. The car warranty people, you got to go through the process with them, and then tell them to stop. If they don't, because what they're doing a lot of times, they're hiring people again from overseas, and our jurisdiction doesn't go that far.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
So you can block them. You could be on a do not call list. That don't work.
Right.
Block so many numbers, and it's just I keep getting them. All they do is get another number.
So I'm interested. I know that's good information there, but I want to continue on with the report. So let's say you get your credit report. How do you know that everything's correct that's on there? So what are we looking for on that report, the credit report?
Okay. One of the main things you want to look for is your personal information, what they call personal identifiers, your name, your date of birth. If you pull a report that may have your last four, that will report. One thing you want to look at is jobs. If you see a job on there that you've never worked at before, it's very possible that someone may have used your file at some point. You'll have someone look at your date of birth and then look at that job. When you worked at that job, you're 19, 20 years old, but you've been working at that job for 10 years. So you want to see, that's your first line that you want to look for to see if any kind of discrepancies there. Then you look at the items on your report and see if those things, actually belong to you, because they may not. So you want to look for those things, not so intricate about what's in it, just if you recognize them or not. If you recognize them, okay. If not, then we might have a problem. Could be a good problem for you, though.
Because I can get paid. Oh, I was just trying to see if I could get paid.
Well, see, here's the thing. What's good about that, there's something that's called a mixed or merged file. Okay? So let's say if I have information and I'm a junior. Okay? So I have information on my file that's for my dad. And if I dispute it, simply saying, hey, this information is not mine, it belongs to someone else, and that's pretty much all you have to do, submit that to the bureaus. If they come back and say that it's verified, that's all you have to do, right? Now, if it's derogatory, in that case, it possibly could be punitive damages for you on top of the statutory damages because it hindered you from getting a car, or you got the car, but it's a much higher rate, and because they said it was verified. So something as simple as that could actually put money in your pocket.
Wow. That's some good stuff to know. I mean, like you're like you said, your average person does not know that, because I sure didn't know.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the things that we don't recognize right off the top, because you look at what most people are going to look at on their credit report is you're going to just see something's wrong. They're not going to put the pieces of that puzzle together. They're just going to see things that are wrong and kind of emotionally fight about it, but not rationally look at it and say, well, this don't make sense.
Yeah, that is true. We'll go back and forth in our minds. I know that ain't right.
Yeah. Did you see something on your report? Or you get that person that say, you know what, just find a spot, because everything else jacked up. So find you a spot on there too.
Yes, that is so true.
People just don't care. I had a young lady told me 2 days ago, she says, I was just going to wait the 7 years. And that was it.
I believe that.
Wait 7 years. You're going to wait it out.
Wow.
So since you brought it up, do just disappear after 7 years? Or, if it's after 7 years and somebody brings something back up to you, what are your rights, or what can you do then?
Well, if something, the thing is though, it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, what we do is we recognize the account. Okay, you open up an account at Sears, right? You defaulted. Now it's ABC Debt Collector that has it. Right? Now, when you look at it and you say, okay, it may have fallen off. Whether you dispute it or not, it may have fallen off.
Mm-hmm.
That person sold it. ABC sold it to DEF.
Mm-hmm.
Now, DEF put it on there as a brand new account.
Oh.
So that cycle can continue.
Wow.
But the law says the account can only be on a person's credit report as a charged off account or a collection account 7 years from the date of first delinquency. Or, as we say, the last time you paid it. Okay? So if you paid it last in 2007, and you got 7 more years, so 2014 is supposed to be off.
Mm-hmm.
That would be your 7 years. If you make a mistake and pay it, thinking you're going to try to get it resolved, the date you make that payment, especially if it's a debt collector, your time starts over from that day. So now you have 7 more years.
Wow.
That is crazy, because I know somebody who, when they were young, had a credit card at like Lerner. Okay, y'all remember Lerner before it was New York and Company?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had a credit card at Lerner, and it did go delinquent and not unpaid or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it was on the credit report for a while, and then it was off because it was years later. Well, they got a credit card at New York and Company, mm-hmm. and so they're sister companies or whatever. But anyway, got a letter in the mail eons later about this credit account with Lerner. Mm. Yes.
With a bill?
With a bill. Like, you owe us this $200 or whatever it was.
Wow. Yeah.
And so they wrote a letter basically to that company, that collection company, like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and never heard from them again.
Yeah, because you know what happened?
What happened?
If that person, so let me tell you, I'm giving y'all some Martha Stewart inside secrets. See, so here's the deal. If you have an account, especially if it's an account, keep in mind that 7-year rule. Okay, that 7-year rule from that date of first delinquency. If the person sold it, and let's say now it's 10 years later, mm-hmm. what they have to do by law is tell you that you don't have to pay it. If you send me a notice saying, hey, you owe me X amount of dollars from such and such account, and if it was 8 years ago from that date of last payment, by law, they have to tell me, hey, listen, by the way, this is a $200 bill, but you don't have to pay it because the statute has run out. But if you do, just know that it's going to be a donation. That's what it's going to be. So they have to tell you that if it's past the statute of limitations, and that's across the board in every state, is a federal rule. They have to tell you that. If they don't tell you that, that's a violation in itself.
That is wild.
Well, listen, like I said, these individuals that contact you, man, listen, if I could just tell you how simple this really is, the process is not hard. Get the basic information from these folks when they contact you, name, their address, what they're calling about. Ask them the date, the last time a payment was made, when did they get it, and those things. And then I promise you it's an easy setup from there. Phone calls, even if they text you, or even emails, those things could be considered, because what's happening is they're contacting you without your consent. Right? Because you didn't do business with them, so they shouldn't have your personal information.
Okay. I like that part for sure.
Yeah.
Don't call me, I won't call you.
Invading on your privacy.
Yeah, exactly. That right there. Getting my personal information.
Right. I want to go back to LifeLock and this identity theft thing. So, you always hear about people that are tens of thousands of dollars in debt because somebody stole their identity, and you hear these horrible stories of how it took them years to recover from it. Well, give us your thoughts on that.
I think for the most part, because people think that for consumer attorneys, if you understand that most cases consumer attorneys don't charge you up front if they believe that there's a violation, could be of identity theft on your personal file. So the recovering of it, I would say, in my opinion, is getting in front of it early. When you recognize something that's on your credit file that's not yours, and you know it's not yours, and you've already disputed it as such, said that it's not mine, it doesn't belong to me, never belonged to me, then at that point, you need to be finding, if you don't already have one, a consumer attorney who understands it and file a suit against it. A lot of times when you hear, like, there was a deal on 60 Minutes where this lady took years and she said she found an attorney and it didn't work. Well, they probably didn't know what they were doing. So it could be, it could be a hurdle to get over it if you let it go for so long. Right? But for the most part, I don't think that identity theft is that hard. One of my attorney guys out of New York did a case for a guy. He had one item on his file. That one thing netted them about 80 grand because they did not remove it from his file.
Wow. So
it's not always that hard. It's about you being able to know and understand what that is. Identity theft is just that. I don't have to, like what do you give somebody? Right? If you say it's not yours, it's not yours. You don't recognize it. I've never done business with these individuals. What else is there for you to do? You can't prove that it's identity theft, but I can tell you it's not mine. They have to prove that it does belong to you.
That's good right there. Yeah.
So does it not necessarily have to take years or?
No, it doesn't have to take years. It can be done in months.
So it sounds like just knowing who the information, who to contact, just knowing the laws or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Well, a lot of it, I'll tell you that I believe that a lot of it is common sense. What happens is because this stuff was not taught to us in school and taught to it by a lot of our parents and things of that nature, and so what we do is we kind of, as they say, follow the Dutch. We follow what our grandparents says, what the mothers and fathers have said, uncles and aunts. But those same people didn't get it either. So now they can't give it to you. So, but some of it, somebody shouldn't be calling you just to be calling you. If somebody that you've never done business with says you owe them money, but yet you don't even know who they are. Right. So, but then it's like, instead of fighting emotionally, you ask intelligent questions like, okay, well, you're trying to say that I owe you. How? How do I owe you? What contract did I sign with you? What obligates me to you? Right. So if I loan you $500 to help you pay your rent one day and you say, hey, can I pay you back? Okay, cool. We'll work that out. Well, guess what? I went in my pocket and I loaned you some money. Right. You pay me back on the terms that we agreed to. Well, what terms did I agree to? Make them show it to you. Yeah. Right. So most of everything that's collected by a person is by a contract. Has to be. Something has to obligate you to the other party, one way or the other.
Yeah, that's good.
You see? So if that didn't happen, you have to make them show you that they owe you.
Yep. So Big Mama, next time they want to borrow $100, you got to write them a contract.
Yeah.
Sign right here on the dotted line.
Sign right here, baby.
Yeah. It's an obligation. And see, that's the one thing that I trick a lot of the folks up with when I talk to them. Because I call a lot of times with my clients on the phone with the debt collection companies. I don't ask for a contract. We ask for the obligation. So if you look up the word obligation, it translates into contract. Because there's nothing under those statutes that says contract. It uses the word obligation. Right? So when you say, well, what's the obligation? Can you show it to me?
Yeah. Word play.
Yep, that's just what I was thinking.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Word play.
They give it to us in what they call legalese. It's legalese. So you don't understand
legalese.
Yeah.
I just got
Yeah, and it's really, in some cases, it's really not legalese. Like, okay, let me throw this in. When you go to the doctor, because this is a big thing that we see. When you go to the doctor, please read everything. Now, I'm not talking about if you go into the emergency room and your limbs falling off. You ain't got time to read nothing. But when you go into the doctor in routine visits, read the paperwork, because it always tells you that they can take your information and give it to someone else. And then you sign it. You consented to it. What you can simply do is read what that says, draw a line through the part you don't consent to, and initial it. Then you can sign it. Okay? You don't have to agree to everything that's in there, because your information does not have to be disseminated outside of the party that you're working with. If I gave it to you, then you can't give it to someone else. But if we do consent to it, you okayed it.
Wow.
We had a conversation about signing stuff on another show, didn't we? Because a lot of times these long
it's
forms
too
of
much.
things we don't read.
We don't read.
We skim over it,
Or we listen to whatever summary that they're providing. This document is this, and then we sign it.
That's it.
And so I'm sure there are things we miss.
Let me show you something that's really funny that we see all the time and probably don't recognize it. If you go on your phone or you subscribe to something, and when you subscribe to it, it says if you don't agree to everything, you can't move to the next step. Right?
Yeah.
But you don't even know what all the information is, because there's no way in the world they're going to show it to you all. Right? Going to Target and applying for the car, the girl at the register says, hey, would you like to get 10% off today or 15% off today? Right? And you say, sure. Now, good and doggone well, you probably ain't going to get approved, but you trying to get to 15%, right? So, but here's the thing. Where do you get the disclosure at? Where do you get the information from? The girl at the register don't know. And then you sign a little box agreeing to stuff that you have no idea what you're agreeing to. Y'all funny.
That is true. That is true. I know. Girl, you want to say 10%? I just tell them no now.
For real.
That 10% ain't worth another credit card or not. No.
Another inquiry on your credit, right?
That too.
Yeah.
That too. You just the thing is though, we have to stop burying our head in the sand with things. Most of this is not really that hard.
Yeah.
It just use a little common sense, figure out what it is, and then you act on it. So if somebody's telling you, hey, this is going to give you this, that, and the other, you're like, okay, show it to me. You got a cashier that works at Target trying to tell you you're going to get a credit card from somebody else, but she's not a representative of the bank that's going to issue it to you.
That's true. That's true.
So she can't tell you anything. But you're going to sign that little box, though, and get your 15%.
Get that. You want to save 10%? No.
Right. I pass.
Yeah. Because what it also does, though, it opens you up for other things. So people start sending you stuff in the mail, start calling you and all of that. Because what you don't see is what all it says. And so now you're getting phone calls and emails and pre-approvals for all kind of stuff that you didn't. And now you're wondering why you're getting them. Stop filling out them 15 and 10% discount things. You'll start getting that stuff.
Oh my goodness. That is so
but that's
funny.
another way, like you talked about the identity theft. That's another way that it happens.
Yeah. And I think it's so important. I love this show personally for more than one reason. But anyway, I do because it's important to have people like you here that, once you've learned, you reach back and tell somebody, bring somebody along, each one teach one. Because, though we won't take the time to read, if we're listening to a show, sometimes it makes me go and read something about that because I want to learn more about that. So,
because I'll Google something in a minute. They said, "What? Wait a minute!
Right.
I don't know what that is."
Google know everything.
Yes.
Right.
But
Ask Google.
I really do. I think it's a blessing that you had this situation happen in your life. It wasn't a blessing at that time, but look where you are because of it and how you're reaching out to help other people. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're not taught to understand. We're taught to accept. right? Because it becomes a generational thing. Because like, again, when you see certain people that do certain things, you don't question it because of who that person is.
Yes. Yep. That is so true.
And so when you don't do that, then what you do is you potentially put yourself in harm's way because you're following someone else. Yeah. So, read it. Read the stuff that you're getting involved in. It could affect you and your family.
Yes.
In a negative way sometimes.
Yeah, that is so good. Ken, thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate your knowledge and your time and everything that you brought to the show today. Why don't you tell our listeners how they can either get in contact with you or follow you if you have a Facebook group or something? Just let them know.
Okay. Again, my name is Ken Lamothe. I'm with Credit Education Group. I am all things on social media, Credit Education Group on Facebook and on Instagram. That's the only two platforms that I'm on. You can also reach us at crediteducationgroup.com, our website there, or you can reach us here directly at the office at 817-200-7814. 9 times out of 10, you'll reach me. But anything that you want to find out with us, social media-wise, go to our site, Credit Education Group on Facebook and on Instagram.
Awesome. And I am Simply C. You can catch me on Facebook and Instagram at Simply Custom Wood Designs. That's for your awesome, lovely wood signs to beautify your home. You can also catch me on Facebook at Simply Cupcakes. And then you can check out my website for Fatherless Daughters at advocatingdaughters.com.
And you can reach me, Money T. I am a travel advisor, and you can go to pricelessdestinations.com. I have a travel store that is launched, and it is so fire to me.
It is. It's got a lot of good stuff on there.
Yes, and you can reach me on Facebook and Instagram at Priceless Destinations, and also Budgeting Behaviors on Facebook and Instagram.
I also want to remind you guys to go out and take T's course, her mini budgeting course.
Yes, Budgeting 1.0.
Yeah, you can find it on the Budgeting Behaviors Facebook page. Yep. Check the announcements. It's pinned there. And I think we should do some kind of contest or something, like whoever signs up for the course and completes it, maybe we enter them into a drawing for a free 12 by 12
custom design.
Yes.
Good idea.
I think it is. So you can listen to find Let's Talk Money on Facebook. And you can also listen to us every Monday on the 8th.
That is 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
It has been a pleasure, y'all. We'll check you later.
We out.
Just enough for the city I'm living. Just enough.